Lars Ulrich was recently asked to name his least favorite Metallica song, but obviously not including Lulu. So of the studio albums, so many songs to pick from that were a bit of a miss.
I don't know that he is excluding Lulu. I mean, he may just think that's great.
No, that was the question. It was like
Oh,
not
was it?
including Ludu, just Ludu.
Ludu.
That's more appropriate name for that album.
So I was surprised he picked a song off of "And Justice for All," and "And Justice for All," not "and Justice for All." The song is "Eye of the Beholder," which I was just like, "Oh, really?"
That's a good song.
So he says, "Whenever I hear that song, it sounds kind of like, I guess we don't want to be super disrespectful to it, but it sounds really forced. It sounds like you put a square peg in a round hole. It sounds like it's two different tempos. There's kind of a 4/4 feel in the intro and on the verses, and then I think the choruses are more like in a waltz tempo. It really sounds like two different worlds rubbing up against each other. It sounds very awkward to me. I'm not a huge fan of the song."
So what we're learning here is Lars Ulrich doesn't remember his own songs or the tempos that are involved.
Yeah.
Isn't it always the same tempo, though?
No, Justice is actually in all these weird time signatures.
Yeah.
Which is rare for Metallica. Like the other albums are pretty straightforward, like you said, but Justice is all over the place.
That's probably why it's his least favorite, because it's the hardest for him to play.
Well, that's funny.
Really
There's another part to the interview where he kind of talks about basically that they went. There's some songs that they never played, and the like the Frayed Ends of Sanity. But then they ended up playing it because fans voted for it, and he didn't know anything about time signatures. We didn't know anything about counting. We just did what played good. It was almost math-like. And then, here I am 20 years later trying to relearn the song, and what the hell was I thinking was his thought. But the most shocking thing. So first of all, on that, it's kind of bullshit because like any song on Saint Anger is worse than Eye of the Beholder.
Right.
But I guess for him, he liked Saint Anger. Like he's still closer to that music than he is to the music on And Justice for All. So
it's like his like the rawest version of him.
Well, elsewhere in the interview, he was asked what the band's most underrated record was, and
did he say the Black Album?
Well, he goes, the counter question to that would be by whom? He says it's hard for him to separate the record from the process and time of making the record.
He just is itching to say Saint Anger, though.
So he's saying, I can't listen to these records without putting myself in the spaces I was in. What were we doing? What were the moods? But if the most underrated records, i.e. the least appreciated records, I would say they are 96's Load and Reload. Then I would say I'm fine with that because I think those are pretty decent records. When I hear songs from either of those records, I'm pretty happy with what I hear. So that means that if the other stuff sits north of that, then that's a good bar to have. I'm okay with that. And I think the longer answer is I'm pretty much okay with anything and any way people rate any of the things that we've done. He says Saint Anger maybe is more of a polarizing record. Some people had a hard time with the sound, the brutality of that record. And so here's what I'm thinking. Like when he says the brutality of that record, does he mean in the metal sense of like that's brutal? Or does he mean in the art sense of brutalism of something so ugly that it is art?
I don't think he means it that way, though it's possible since he is a noted art collector.
Right?
But I don't think he means it that way. Because
he
would have said the brutalism.
Is Saint Anger any more brutal? Sonically it's brutal because it's brutal to listen to that
punishing
shitty snare. Yeah, it's punishing. But like in the metal adjective sense, it doesn't like they have like Master of Puppets is far more brutal than Saint Anger.
Well, he definitely doesn't mean it in the metal sense. I don't think that's even in his parlance, his
right. That's why I think it's more he means like brutalism. Like
I think he means that like they intentionally made it sound that way, which to us is bad. and
Yeah.
raw and unproduced and shitty, and that's what he's calling brutal. But he means it as a compliment, which most people wouldn't
Yeah.
paint it as.
Yeah.
So, and then he kind of starts ranting. If you kind of have to put them all into a soundbite, Justice is the album without bass on it. Saint Anger, the album without snare. All this stuff, I'm very okay with any of that. I'm proud of the fact that, if nothing else, all these records represent vision of the moment.
Mhm.
I think the real answer here is, why do I give a these albums are rated? I'm really fucking rich. That's it. Like, they're rated I'm a millionaire. That's-
Okay, later he goes, generally, I don't spend a lot of time being analytical. I'm much more interested in what's calming. And I'm more interested in the next record or what the possibility for the future is. Which is like, granted, it's not like he's bringing this up. Someone asked him this, but he's
Right.
being pretty analytical for someone who's not spending time being analytical.
I just wonder, like, how many times can he answer this freaking question?
Mm-hmm.
Who
What else
asked
are you
it?
gonna
Let's call
ask
him
him?
out.
I don't know. Just like talk about something else. Talk about, I don't know.
Well, what else is interesting about Lars Ulrich except him being in Metallica? Like,
What
also
TV has he
this-
been watching lately?
Yeah,
mean-
that. What do you like to eat?
that I really don't give a fuck about.
Well, he's specifically promoting their new S&M album. So he wants to talk about music. He wants to talk. And the album is about them playing stuff from their,
Oh, I'm
vast
sure he wants to
discography.
talk about it. I just don't give a fuck about hearing his answer.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, we give a fuck in that we can mock it.
Yes. I mean, me outside the show. Yeah, as comedy material, yes, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. But
But
other
you're
than
not
that,
like
I-
on your own time opening these articles and reading
No.
through.
No, sir, kindly not.